This is Pro Football Perspective. I am Nathaniel Bradley. Whether you're at home, work, the gym, in your car, or wherever you are, thanks for taking time out of your day to spend here. Pro Football Perspective is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And of course, be sure to follow on Instagram at Pro Football Perspective. What's happening? Thanks for coming back to Pro Football Perspective. We are back here with today's episode wrapping up longevity and durability in terms of our evaluation of the GOAT group quarterbacks there. Longevity and durability, as I've stated before, is kind of a mushy subject, pretty subjective in terms of how people view it. There is consensus, I would think, of, hey, if you play a long time, you've got longevity. Durability, if you don't get hurt a lot. What people seem to struggle with is how that's measured, and that's what I've been attempting to do with our GOAT group quarterbacks. So again, I'm looking at this talent or ability, this trait, this skill as something that can be measured objectively. And I'm looking at the 16 quarterbacks that I believe have some type of claim to being the GOAT. So far, we have looked at, in order, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Kurt Warner, Otto Graham, Bart Starr, Steve Young, Roger Staubach, Sammy Baugh, Aaron Rodgers, John Elway, Johnny Unitas, and Dan Marino. So if you've been paying attention to this podcast and the GOAT group as a whole, you'll know there are 4 names missing, and those names are, in alphabetical order, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Brett Favre, and Peyton Manning. So those quarterbacks are the top 4 in longevity and durability. In terms of our scoring and kind of how we figure that out, I took a look at 7 different categories. Those categories are total number of seasons, so that's pretty straightforward. The number of seasons a player was listed as active to start the season. For example, someone like Tom Brady gets credit for the rookie season, gets credit for the 2008 season, I should say, when he was active at the start of the season, despite missing the majority of those seasons in terms of playing time. Someone like Peyton Manning does not get credit for the season he missed when he was out with a neck injury. He was not active at the start of the season. So that's how those things are measured. Next category I looked at was the start percentage. So that's pretty straightforward. The total number of starts any player had during their career divided by the total number of regular seasons available during their career. The start percentage after age 35, again, this speaks both to durability and longevity. Number of starts a player has in their career after age 35 season divided by the total number of regular season games available across their entire career. Okay, so that is going to be a small number. Obviously, it's going to be larger for some of these guys that played, deep into their 30s or even 40s. Percentage of wins after age 35. This is not winning percentage after age 35. That's a separate type of, that's not what I'm looking at here. Number of wins a player has after age 35 divided by the total number of regular season games available during their entire career. Okay, so that's the 4th category I looked at. The 5th and 6th categories are essentially start percentage after age 40, that's the same formula as start percentage after age 35, and percentage of wins after age 40, and that's the same formula of percentage of wins after age 35. The last category I looked at was the Ironman streak percentage, and that's the highest number of consecutive starts a player has had during their career, divided by the total number of regular season games available during their career. So that type of durability and longevity of durability. It speaks to really providing the team and organization and your surrounding teammates with stability at the position. Okay, so those are the 7 categories I looked at. I mushed them all together and measured how far above or below the average of the 16 GOAT group quarterbacks each player ranked. Okay, so some of these guys, like Otto Graham ranked way, 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 way low in total seasons, okay, because he was only active for 10. So he was way below the average of these 16 quarterbacks, okay? So that gives you an idea of where he would rank in total seasons. His start percentage was 90 some odd percent. So he was way high because the start percentage average for these 16 quarterbacks was in the 80s. So that gives you an idea of how I kind of come up with where people stand. It's not necessarily just adding up, hey, where do they rank? It's how far above or below the average of each category these quarterbacks are. So that brings us, like I said, to our final four here. Again, that's Brady, Brees, Favre, and Manning. I'm going to take a look at them a little bit differently this time. Typically with these episodes, I'll just kind of do a standard countdown, go from 4, 3, 2, 1. What I'm going to do this time is look at each quarterback's categories, how they compare to each other within each category. And then at the end of the episode, I'll kind of give you the stack ranking of how that shakes out between the four of them. These four were considerably higher in their scoring than the other 12 quarterbacks. There is a line of delineation between these four and the others, and then there is another level between the top two and numbers 3 and 4 here. So I'll kind of get to that and explain that as I go here. Again, I think it's best to kind of listen to this podcast while following along on Instagram at Pro Football Perspective. I think that gives the best illustrations and visual aids because I made them. And that's they're explaining exactly what I'm talking about here. So any statistical jargon, if you miss a formula, or if you miss a number or a digit or whatever, or if you just want to comment, hey, that's really cool, or hey, that's really stupid, by all means, follow along at Pro Football Perspective on Instagram. That would be a big help. I appreciate that there. Without further ado, let's get to it. So the first category that we'll be looking at here is total seasons. So with these final four quarterbacks, they all played a long time. Coming in tied for fifth in the GOAT group, okay, fourth among these four quarterbacks was Peyton Manning, 17 total seasons where he was active at the start of the season. Tied for second, Drew Brees and Brett Favre, both at 20 seasons. And then, of course, none other than Tom Brady at number one with 22 active seasons, about to be 23. So that's how that shook out when it came to total seasons. Now, when it comes to total start percentage, this was really tight. They both, or I shouldn't say both, all four of these guys had a very high start percentage. Drew Brees came in at number 6 within the GOAT group and fourth among these quarterbacks here at 89.4%. And then Tom Brady just ever so slightly right now. Okay, obviously some of this is subject to change. This could easily go up or down this coming season. But Tom Brady at 89.5%. So that means out of the total number of available games these guys had available during their careers from the time they were a rookie, that's how many, that's the percentage of the games they've started. So 89.4% for Brees, 89.5% for Brady, and then with Manning, he's at 92%. That's third in the GOAT group. And Favre at 93.1%. That's number 2 in the GOAT group there. Okay, now when it comes to start percentage after age 35, this is where you'll see Tom Brady kind of distance himself from these other four quarterbacks here. So start percentage after age 35 of these four quarterbacks, Manning was the lowest percentage there. 7th in the GOAT group at 19.8%. Third in the GOAT group and third among these quarterbacks here is Drew Brees, 31.6%. was his start percentage after age 35. Then you have Brett Favre at 34.1%. That's his start percentage after age 35. That's number 2. And then you've got Brady with an eye-popping 44.5% start percentage after age 35. So the number of starts he's had after his age 35 season accounts for 44.5% of the total number of games available during his entire career. That's just remarkable. It's otherworldly. It's freakish, however you want to describe it. Just absolutely incredible. Now, when it comes to percentage of wins after age 35, it kind of shakes out similarly. Manning at number 7 in the GOAT group, 4th among these guys that we're talking about on this episode, 15.6%. That's the percentage of wins he's had after age 35, divided, or essentially the percentage being the number of wins after age 35 divided by the total number of games available during his entire career. Then you've got Brett Favre at 19.1%. That's 4th in the GOAT group, 3rd among these quarterbacks that we're talking about here today. You've got Drew Brees at 19.4%, ever so slightly above Favre there. That's 3rd in the GOAT group, and second in this group that we're talking about here today. And no surprise here, Tom Brady first. Okay, 33.7%. That's his percentage of wins after age 35. Now, start percentage after age 40. Okay, now there's only 4 quarterbacks in the GOAT group that even played after age 40. Manning was not one of them, so he's at 0. He's also at 0 for the percentage of wins after age 40. Obviously, he's not played after age 40. So that ranks him tied for 5th and or last in the GOAT group. On our last episode, we discussed Johnny Unitas made it just barely to 40. So he was 4th. And then the remaining 3 are, Brady, Brees, and Favre. So in what order? So start percentage after age 40, Drew Brees came in at number 3 at 7.2%. Okay. And then Brett Favre came in at number 2 at 9.1%. And then there's Touchdown Tom at number 1, as expected, 22.9%. Okay, so that's the number of starts he's had after the age of 40 divided by the total number of games available during his entire career. Okay, so I mean, we just saw Drew Brees and Brett Favre outdistance the rest of the GOAT group and, quite frankly, the entire history of the NFL by quite a bit. Okay, when it comes to their start percentage after age 40. And Tom Brady laps them. It's laughable. Okay, when it comes to percentage of wins after age 40, both Favre and Brees are tied for number 2 at 5.3%. And then Brady, again, astronomically ahead of them. Percentage of wins after age 40 for Brady, 17% there. Okay, and the final category that I evaluated within longevity and durability to kind of give us an objective measurement tool for this trait that really does mean something is the Iron Man streak percentage. That embodies both durability and longevity. Okay, it kind of is both in one. It gives like I said, the organization stability. What can they expect out of the quarterback position? It helps them shape their team. Okay, do we need to invest a lot in a backup quarterback? Do we need to build a certain type of offensive line, a better running game, whatever it may be? But that Iron Man streak, really, it's the longevity of durability is what it is. So that was the last category I evaluated here. And amongst these 4 quarterbacks here, all very, very high. I think I mentioned at the top of this evaluation, Tom Brady has like 3 of the longest Ironman streaks, of the top 20 Ironman streaks in the history of the NFL. He has 3 of them, 3 separate occasions. Pretty remarkable. When it comes to kind of how everything shakes out with a single Ironman streak, Drew Brees was 9th in the GOAT group. At one point during Brees' career, he started 25.6% of his entire career consecutively. Okay, so that's 9th in the GOAT group. Then you've got Brady. At one point during his career, he has started 31.7% of his entire career consecutively. Obviously, some of that can change going forward, as all of these statistics with Brady can change as he continues to chug forward into the future and into the record books this upcoming season. Then you've got Peyton Manning. At one point during his career, he started 72.2% of his entire career consecutively. That's the second longest Ironman streak in the NFL history, and it's second in the GOAT group, obviously, in terms of percentage of their total career available games. And of course, number one is Brett Favre. 92.8% of his career was started consecutively. Absolutely remarkable there. So as far as kind of all of these figures, numbers, percentages, everything I'm throwing out, again, just a reminder, this is all available at Pro Football Perspective on Instagram. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a follow there at Pro Football Perspective on Instagram. Feel free to hop on there and maybe let me know what you think of this particular format in terms of, I guess, burying the lead and going through each individual category before the overall reveal of the rankings here. That would be great. But let's go ahead and go through that reveal. So again, how do I get to this point? So each of those 7 categories, all 16 quarterbacks are scored in. I take an average of the 16 quarterbacks within each category, and I see where each individual propels either above or below that average, okay? So that score within each category is their delta above or below the GOAT group average. And so with 7 categories, I take 7 of those GOAT group deltas, and add those up to see where these guys rank overall. That gives you their overall score. So the way it shook out for these 4 quarterbacks, longevity and durability, like I said, these 4 were head and shoulders above the rest of the GOAT group quarterbacks. And then the top 2 were head and shoulders above even numbers 3 and 4. So number 4 was Drew Brees. Okay, Drew Brees came in at number 4 in longevity and durability, ever so slightly edged out by Peyton Manning. Okay, both of these guys had shining qualities in terms of longevity and durability. Obviously, Drew Brees playing past the age of 40 at an incredibly high level past the age of 40 really kind of propelled him up the rankings. And then Manning, although he did not play past the age of 40, did have the remarkable durability in terms of his start percentage and his Ironman streak percentage. Now, when it comes to the top 2, they're like next level, even above Brees and Manning. Okay. Now, caveat here, these 2 were separated by the smallest of margins. I'm talking about like have to go to the 4th or 5th decimal place to see how they were separated. But as it stands at this moment in time, Tom Brady was 2nd in longevity and durability, and Brett Favre is number 1. That probably will change after, I believe, week 2, I think. But as it stands right now, I mean, it's virtually a tie. Favre is ever so slightly scored higher than Tom Brady. But as I said, that's about to change like 2 weeks into the season. Of course, Brady ranked number 1 out of the GOAT group with total seasons, start percentage after age 35, percentage of wins after age 35, start percentage after age 40, and percentage of wins after age 40. So those 5 categories all have longevity and durability, to them. I would say that they probably ever so slightly might favor longevity, but I mean, you have to be durable to play that long and to have that many starts, especially at the air quotes advanced age, past the age of 35 or past the age of 40. Advanced age, I guess, in NFL years. In terms of Brett Favre's kind of high notes, of course, it's the start percentage and the Ironman streak percentage. Both of those, I would say, probably slightly favor durability over longevity. But he also scored high in start percentage after age 35, start percentage after age 40, and percentage of wins after age 40 and after age 35. It's not like he was a slouch there. But when you kind of calculate it all out, he slightly edges out Brady at this moment in time. Like I said, that's bound to change very soon here. So that's how they stand right now. Okay, in terms of the complete list of longevity and durability and kind of where all of these guys stand, really, I mean, the reason I compared them to one another rather than the league as a whole is because they all had remarkable longevity and durability. Like most of these categories, as we've been evaluating the GOAT group, you're really splitting hairs. So if you want to find out who the greatest of all time is, you have to split hairs. Somebody has to be last. You have to compare them to the best, not just to the average of the league. So the complete list breaks down as Joe Montana at number 16, Terry Bradshaw at number 15, Kurt Warner at number 14, Otto Graham at number 13, Bart Starr at number 12, Steve Young at number 11, Roger Staubach at number 10, Sammy Baugh at number 9, Aaron Rodgers at number 8, John Elway at number 7, Johnny Unitas at number 6, Dan Marino at number 5, Drew Brees at number 4, Peyton Manning at number 3, Tom Brady at number 2 for now, and Brett Favre at number 1 for now. Again, that's just one category, one metric that I've been evaluating here, longevity and durability. My thoughts kind of in general, just kind of 30,000 foot view of it, if there's anything I might do differently or look at differently. I guess there's a little bit of weight that skews ever so slightly in the favor of quarterbacks that got a late start. I'm looking at Roger Staubach and Steve Young in particular, ranking at 10th and 11th. Would they rank that high if they started their entire careers at the same age as everybody else? I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe they would be even higher. Maybe if Steve Young stays in Tampa Bay his entire career, he plays 20 seasons. I don't know. Probably not. I don't see how anybody could play that long in that environment that he walked into in the mid '80s. Staubach, he had his service that he did for our country, and then the weird like quarterback rotation that he landed in with the Cowboys initially. So both of them had some years after 35 that kind of maybe got skewed because they didn't have the same wear and tear as everybody else. But who knows? It's kind of hard to play the what if game. I just based this off of the results. Other things that jump out to me, Kurt Warner, he had his injury woes throughout his career, and he didn't play for that long by comparison to a lot of these other guys, but somehow he did score better than both Bradshaw and Montana. So maybe that's something I need to look at in terms of the scoring down the road if I'm going to revisit this. But generally speaking, this is a pretty sound statistic. If you look at the way it shakes out, especially at the top, it makes sense. You measure the percentage of games a quarterback starts. You measure how much and how often how much they play and start and how much they win at certain points in their career after a certain age. This all kind of speaks to longevity and durability, so I have a lot of confidence in it, but I may tweak things later on to see if it maybe better fits what we kind of think of. But I think maybe that's the whole point, is sometimes we think of something and it's not necessarily correct. It's good to come up with a rigid and objective way of measuring these things. That way we can look at our own maybe personal biases and see if we're skewing things a little bit. But yeah, longevity and durability, that's where we stand there. We have a limited number of categories left to evaluate within the GOAT group of quarterbacks. A champion will be crowned, I promise. I may not agree, you may not agree, but it'll be what the numbers say. A champion will be crowned, and it will be crowned before the start of the regular season. I know that we're getting underway here with preseason football, and everybody's excited for that. The podcast will probably undergo a little bit of a transition as the NFL season does start, but I will complete this evaluation prior to the start of the season. We don't have very many metrics remaining to cover, so rest assured, we will get there. It will be completed. I'm going to give you a bonus couple of categories here that I think a lot of people will appreciate, because there are some quarterbacks that have some aspects to their resumes that thus far maybe haven't been measured or haven't been looked at in depth enough, but I'm going to do it. So we have a rapid fire few weeks ahead of us. We're going to be covering what I want to call, the clutch factor, clutch results, okay? We're going to measure that, okay? Not just the gut feel or the highlights that we all see replayed on NFL films or Sports Center, or, I guess people don't know what ESPN Classic is, but yeah, we're going to look at the results, the figures, the statistical metrics out there that we can measure, and we're gonna measure, of the 16 quarterbacks, who was the most clutch. We're also gonna measure who had the most game-changing plays. Okay, momentum changers, high leverage plays, whatever you want to call it. There are aspects of these quarterbacks' games that have not been measured yet that deserve to be measured. So those high leverage, momentum changers, game changers, we're going to measure that. And then we're going to measure playoff performance, okay? Because that's a massive factor in determining who the best of the best is. So that's going to be the final metric that we go over as well, is the playoff performances of these 16 quarterbacks. So look for that in the coming weeks. We'll probably do maybe some more rapid fire, shorter episodes, or maybe multiple episodes per week to kind of get there. But we are going to get there, I promise you. And at the end of it all, you will see who stands out above the rest, and really can lay a objective claim to the GOAT. And some of the results might surprise you. It's going to be exciting to go over, and exciting to debate, and exciting to explain, and exciting to justify, and you can wave your fists in the air and shout about it, and I'll be right there with you every step of the way. It's going to be a good time. So be on the lookout for that as we approach the start of the NFL regular season. Thanks again for joining Pro Football Perspective. On next week's episode, we will be diving into the game-changing plays of the 16 GOAT quarterbacks. Pro Football Perspective is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, and, of course, be sure to follow along on Instagram @Pro Football Perspective. I'm Nathaniel Bradley. Deuces.